Where do I even begin? Can I say it? That was painful. What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another video. Today we are doing yet another Naruto video, and today we are talking about the Pain Assault arc. I think there's a different official name, but I've heard it called the Pain Assault arc, the Pain arc, the Pain's Revenge arc, and you know what I'm talking about when I say that, so I don't think I need to elaborate even more. But for those of you who might be visiting my channel for the first time, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Hannah, and I am on my first time watching Naruto journey. I actually started it on New Year's Day of 2025, with the plans of getting finished by the end of the year. I am skipping over filler currently. I'll probably go back and watch some of it that I've heard is super good, but that's the goal. Note that yes, this video is coming out probably, I don't know when I'm gonna have this released, like September or October, but I'm recording this on July 12th. So I probably will finish the show by the end of the year. Maybe not this YouTube series though. But as each arc has ended, I've been doing video recaps on each arc. So if you are interested, I've been doing that since the start. I'll put the playlists in the description. I feel like I've gotten just more and more unhinged as the series has progressed, but I think that kind of has to do with the emotions I'm feeling towards this show growing more and more as the series progresses. So as I get more and more into it, the more yappy and unhinged I become. So hello. But we're gonna talk about the Pain arc, but before we do, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts on the Pain arc. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media. I'm at Hannah Malay on Instagram and TikTok, and there are some Naruto cosplays on my Instagram, so if you wanna check it out, follow me there. And I'm at lookingnerdy on X. Okay, so let's talk about the Pain arc. I'm gonna be so for real, this is definitely the most famous arc that I've heard. I have heard so many people say it's the Pain arc, it's the Pain arc, and I'm like, is that really what it's called? Like, is it pain because it's like painful, or is there some other reason why it's called pain? And everyone was always like, oh, you'll know when you watch it. I'm like, okay, cool, that's helpful. But honestly, yes, painful. I will say though, less painful than the last arc, and I think it's because this one had a very nice, happy ending, which I was very thankful for, because what a roller coaster of emotions this arc was. So I first just want to throw out there that I was still recovering from the truth about Itachi and Jiraiya's death, and they definitely wanted us to remember Jiraiya this entire arc. And you know what, I get it. He was a fan favorite. That was a hard death to get through. I was spoiled on his death and I still sobbed my eyes out. So take that as you will. But they really wanted to make sure that our heartstrings were pulled the entire time, because they kept on reminding us and kept on reminding us and kept on reminding us. But I did find it kind of funny, and this is completely different from Jiraiya. I actually kind of giggled at the fact that Sasuke declared he was going to destroy Konoha, and then like a few episodes later, Pain destroys Konoha. Like, it was actually kind of funny because he like leveled it. And Sasuke, what is Sasuke gonna do now? I don't know. So I actually haven't watched the next episode after the technical end of this arc because I wanted to wait until I sat down and recorded, so I wasn't thinking of things that are to come. So I don't know what's gonna happen, but I do know the name of the episode and I don't like it. So there's that. Random side tangent. So I believe this arc started with Sasuke fighting the other, like the 8-tailed, right? Because Naruto is the 9-tailed Jinchuriki. So the 8-tailed Jinchuriki. This guy's interesting. So his shtick is that he raps everything. Okay. He seems really strong though, and he like destroyed Sasuke's chest. I was like, bro, you're lucky you had the people with you, because you would be dead. Because like your chest being destroyed, that's where your heart is. Your heart's kind of important. Just throwing that out there. But I originally was like, oh, there goes the last Jinchuriki, which by the way, we haven't checked in with Gaara in a while. Is he still a Jinchuriki, or is he just a ninja now? Because they like sucked the Jinchuriki out of him which does kill its host, but then he got brought back to life. But we have not revisited that situation once, which is a little bit annoying, but also so much has been happening. It doesn't surprise me that we haven't checked in. I do know there's more Gata to come, but I'm just kind of wondering, like, is he still technically a Jinchuriki, or does he not have that power anymore? Anyway, so the 8-tailed Jinchuriki seemed to be very strong to the point of making it nearly impossible for Sasuke and his team to beat him. Also, random side note, I don't know why this came to mind, but seeing Sasuke and his team in the Akatsuki jackets, but it was like little versions of them. Like, they didn't give them full Akatsuki jackets. They gave them like student Akatsuki jackets. And for some reason, they reminded me of like Harry Potter characters. I don't know why. Like, the styling of it, I was like, did we just go to Hogwarts? Random side tangent. Anyway, but they like defeated him, but they sent a clone to the Akatsuki. So I don't really know, outside of the fact that Sasuke wants to destroy Konoha, which he can't now because there is no Konoha after this arc. I wonder where he's going from here and what he's gonna do, because on one hand I could say that he has a very obvious goal, because the goal for him the entire show so far is done. Like, Itachi is dead, now he knows that he probably shouldn't have killed him, you know, that sort of thing. Now he's saying his goal is to destroy Konoha, but in this arc, Konoha was destroyed by someone else. So I wonder where Sasuke is going. I wonder what he's gonna do. And he's definitely doing things that surprise me a little bit, because I would think that he wouldn't give them a clone. I would think that he would want to make friends with the Akatsuki so that he can get the help that he needs. But, you know, Sasuke is also like, this is my team, I work alone, that sort of thing. So we're gonna find out, I'm sure, in the next arc, but I'm very interested to see where that goes. But Naruto got to do some sage training, and I think this is really good training for him. I feel like Naruto has grown so much over this series, and I've really appreciated that. If you watched my first few videos about Naruto, I actually found him very annoying, which I guess is pretty common. He, like, the Date Bayo got like very annoying very quickly, and just overall, like, I could tell he was a sunshine boy, but he was kind of more portrayed as a like super stupid sunshine boy, which is a very common thing to happen to sunshine boys, which really bothers me, because sunshine boys are my favorite type of character. There's a reason why Tanjiro is my favorite character in all of media and Aang is second, right? I tend to lean towards those, but I do see the whole like baka trope with them a lot. So he started out that way, but as like the story has progressed and we've learned that it was kind of a defense mechanism because of the way he grew up and that sort of thing, and he has mellowed out, but he's kept still a lot of that like silly nature. The sage training, I felt like, was very helpful to him, because I felt like it kind of got rid of the last little bit of annoying part of him, because he learned how to focus, how to be unmoving, when that's like the opposite of what he does. So I found that very, very interesting. We'll talk about his entrance here in a moment, but let's talk about Pain assaulting Konoha. So I find it very hilarious. The day I decided to impulse buy a t-shirt that has Kakashi on it, which is not here yet, I was going to wear it for this video, but it's not here yet, is the day I watched Pain versus Kakashi. If you know, you know. I know I'm kind of skipping ahead because that was a few episodes after the assault. I mean, Pain shows up and he's like destroying things left and right. It's not looking good. When Kakashi showed up to save, I think it was Iruka sensei, I was like, let's go. But also, oh boy, Pain has been literally unstoppable. Even Jiraiya couldn't. And I'm sitting there thinking, is Kakashi stronger than Jiraiya? Although Jiraiya had to fight all of the Pains, and Kakashi at this point was fighting, I believe it was 2 that was there, I was like, ugh, that's a little bit worrisome. However, and I will say this affected my entire experience of this arc, I had seen content with Kakashi in the future. So when he died, because he did actually die, I was not distraught, because I was like, there is going to be some way that he survives this, because I know for a fact that I have seen him in future content, in certain contexts that I don't want to talk about, because I feel like if I talk about it more, the more I'm just spoiling myself. Because I do have a lot of spoilers, but a lot of it has been just from things that I see before I started watching it, like just scrolling through Twitter, cool moments in anime, and it's just a series of a bunch of different things happening, and there was something with Kakashi, and I was like, that's definitely not happened. Same thing with character deaths. Like, I think I got spoiled on Jiraiya's death because it was literally one of those posts where it's like 20 different slides, and it's like the most emotional deaths in anime, and I was just scrolling through, and this was before I watched Naruto. But I remembered that, right? So I, like, the whole time knew he was going to survive, but it was fun still to try and figure out how he was going to survive and if he was actually dead or if it was like feigning death. And that whole arc within it was really, really good. I think it would have been better for me if I hadn't gotten spoiled on Kakashi being in the story later on, because I would have been so shell-shocked and so emotional that it actually might have been something where I would have had to take a break, because he was very clearly dead. He used up all of his chakra. He's mentioned it in the past, if you use it all up, you die. He's also mentioned that he has less chakra than like the average person, I think. I don't know if I would have gone through the arc as quickly as I did if I didn't know what was gonna happen to Kakashi. He's my favorite character. And I feel like there's still a lot to get to know about him. His backstory was very interesting, but it was a very small tidbit of his backstory. When we learned about his time with Obito and Rin, we don't know what's happened to Rin. I think Obito's alive. I'm gonna throw it out there now because I just need to put this out there. Please do not answer this in the comments. Please do not ruin it for me. But I think Obito is alive. And I think he's the guy who's saying he's Madara. I don't know why. It could be because maybe I've seen a spoiler, but I'm not remembering that it was a spoiler. But also the fact that it's Sharingan and it's the right eye that he can see out of, which would mean that he maybe doesn't have a left eye because he gave it to Kakashi. And also, I have definitely seen pictures of Madara and he's always had long hair. So I'm just putting two and two together. I think that's Obito. I don't know in what capacity. I don't know if he's being controlled, if it's like a version of himself, or if it's just him. So throwing that out there. I was gonna talk about that in my last video about it, but I literally forgot to talk about Kakashi's backstory, which is very, very wrong of me because I am a Kakashi stan and he's my favorite character, and I feel like I can't say that anymore. But so much happened in the last arc that I genuinely forgot that it had happened in that same arc. Anyway, tangent counter number 582. I was still mad. I thought maybe I was in denial. I thought maybe, you know, I had gotten thrown off the track and people were posting things that didn't happen, or if it was like a dream sequence or something like that. But the whole time I felt like he was probably alive. That being said, there's a couple things with the story of Kakashi in this arc that really got to me. Number one is that because he did like actually die, he wasn't just like unconscious, but he did die. He was like talking to his dad. When his dad mentioned after he got pulled back that he finally gets to go to Kakashi's mother now, which I think that also needs to be explained at some point because we haven't really gotten much about his mom or anything at all. That was really emotional and it made the whole thing feel better because I was like, okay, so Kakashi is alive now, but he also got to talk to his dad and tell him that he forgives him, and that then sent his dad's soul into the afterlife for real. So it's like a win-win. That was very beautiful and very well done. So I really liked that they went that route. Like there was a payoff for this huge death fake out, if you can call it that, because he was dead. So it's not really a fake out, it's just that he got resurrected, right? So I felt like that was a good payout for that kind of situation, because I do feel like in anime, a lot of times when a character dies and then gets resurrected for some reason, it can feel very, what's the word? Deus machina? Deus machina? If I said that even remotely incorrectly, please don't laugh at me in the comments. But it can feel very just like, oh, okay, that's helpful. This person has the ability to resurrect people, which can kind of feel that way with Pain, which we'll talk about in a minute. But with Kakashi, it was at least paid off that we got him back because I think he's very integral to the story still, and that would have been too great of a loss Jiraiya it made more sense because it was kind of like, in my opinion, Jiraiya dying is the development that gets Naruto kind of where he's at now with the sage abilities and that sort of thing. Kakashi dying, there's too much to learn about him still, and I feel like he has too much going on within the story as a whole, that if he had actually died and stayed dead, there would have been something missing from the story, which could be me talking just because he's my favorite character, but I digress. So I'm glad that we got that full circle moment. Okay, the fight sequences with Pain were really good. I don't have much to say. The animation of the show is very much surprising me with when it was made. I think I'm to the part that was in like 2006, 2007. And the fight sequences are very well done and very good, and I really, really like that. Let's talk about Naruto's entrance, because this new fit with the red cape thing is by far my favorite fit of Naruto's. So there's a lot to talk about with Naruto in this arc because he absolutely carried the arc. He carried the town. And he's the reason everyone is alive. So first things first, when he showed up, that was like right after Pain doing the almighty punch, which, by the way, I took a picture of my TV screen when it got to that point where he was like up above it, because I was like, okay, I've definitely seen this everywhere. And then he said, and now this world shall know pain. I was like, okay, there it is. I've heard this everywhere. I've known this is coming. I'm a little bit surprised it's so early on in the show. I thought Pain arc was gonna be like the last arc, so I wonder kind of what else is to come at this point, because it sounded like that was kind of the climax of the show, but I do know there's a war coming, so I guess that's gonna be the climax, obviously. But anyway, so like there was that big moment. Tsunade protecting all of the villagers. Yes. I've had a bit of an issue with the way she's been written. She was introduced very well, but even though she's Hokage, she's felt very like, I don't know. I get that her being Hokage means she's gonna be kind of in her office desk all the time. I wanted to see more of her fighting though, especially in this case. Like a lot of it, she was just standing there. I also didn't like how Sakura had to go be the, well, okay, I'm backtracking a little bit. Sakura being at the hospital to heal people. So there's two things with that. One is I do wish she got to fight a little bit more, because they keep showing how like physically strong she's gotten, and she was able to kind of take down one of those like big animal things. But then like kind of sending her to the hospital immediately to just do healing was a little bit frustrating. However, I did really like that she was in charge of that. I think that when it comes to girl power, I'm someone who's okay if they go the route of like being medical or a healer some of the time. And some of the time it's fine because like there is still development happening with her where she is in charge and she's being put in a position that's very, very difficult without fighting. So I did like that she wasn't like the damsel in distress that she's been at the beginning of the story. Like she was very prevalent to what was happening, and she was being a badass just in a different capacity than fighting. The problem that I had with what Tsunade was doing for a lot of it she was just kind of, well, no, I guess I don't really have much of a problem because she was using her like, I can't think of the word or the name, but you know, like the slug, and that was all her chakra too. So I take it back. I didn't mind Tsunade this arc, but what she did with like using her chakra to protect everyone so that no one died when the like atomic bomb went off, right, was so cool, and I feel like is underappreciated even by me, because I just said that I was a little bit frustrated until I thought about it more. I was like, oh, never mind. Actually, I don't mind it as much. So that was crazy. And then Naruto showing up when Konoha has been destroyed and he's like confused. I really saw a lot of growth in him in this too, because I feel like Naruto, even just a couple seasons ago, would have showed up, found out that Konoha was literally dirt, like it was. And of course he asked Tsunade why he couldn't sense Kakashi's chakra, which he was like, oh, is he on a mission? And she said no. And I feel like Naruto just a couple seasons ago wouldn't have been able to control like the rage he would feel and that sort of thing. He's definitely learning to channel that rage and use it to make him stronger. So I found that very, very interesting, and I like the development for him through that. The fight between Naruto and Pain was really spectacular. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. There was so much happening too that I was just like, oh my goodness, this is a lot. Typical anime battle fashion, you know, you think Naruto's gonna win and then he's not, and then you think Pain is gonna win and then he's not. Hinata showed up and she had this whole moment where she was like, I love Naruto, which on one hand I can say I did enjoy that. On the other hand, I can say it's like she's clearly grown, but they just made her really, really weak in this moment. It would have hit harder for me if she at least got to do something rather than, yeah, it was really cool and she's gotten a lot stronger and I'm glad that she's like gotten braver and is willing to do that. However, I was very like, she still just got hit after hit. Like, let her land one hit, please. It just felt a little anticlimactic that she had this big moment and then it just ended with her having to be rescued. So, but I do think that's a good start. Hinata has been a character that I've been really frustrated by because I do know spoilers about her for the end of the show, and I've just been sitting here like waiting for a moment she becomes actually prevalent to the story. The whole I love you came out of not nowhere because she's always been obsessed with Naruto, but it's nice at least that the like Naruto-kun like obsessiveness has turned into something like she wants to protect him even if she can't. So I will give that to the writer. Like, I feel like it could have been handled a little bit better, but it's definitely being handled better than it was. So I'll take that. But let's now talk about the Tak no Jutsu because there's a lot of layers to this. I've been kind of waiting a lot for like the real Tak no Jutsu because everyone says that, but I haven't had a real moment where I've truly felt like that's been a major thing until now. Like, yeah, he's definitely wanted to talk to a lot of his enemies and like he has in the past, but it's never been anything that's been like in your face, like, okay, we're resolving all of these fights with talking, right? This was like the first fight where I felt like it genuinely got resolved with talking, but I feel like it was done in a very good way. First of all, Pain's story is very good. I've grown very used to these stories where when the villains, we learn about them, we understand that they've been through this unspeakable trauma just as everyone else. They've just made probably what you would consider as an audience the wrong decision, but is it really the wrong decision when it comes to what they've come from? Maybe, maybe not, right? I really liked that we characterized him as this person who has a lot of history with Jiraiya, and that made it harder when he was the one who killed him, of course, in the previous season. But it made it so interesting when it came to this fight because Naruto is also the student of Jiraiya. And the moments where he was talking about like, the story is me, I'm Naruto, and I don't want war, I want everyone to get along. And you know, that's very like average, basic, oh, you know, the good guy wants everyone to get along. He believes in that, right? Like, of course, because he's the good guy. But Pain just like believing him was a little like but at the same time, I felt like it made sense because they were both students, and Pain being able to see it, what was his name, Yamato, being able to see it from Naruto's perspective, I think it made sense as to why Pain decided to put his trust in Naruto. Now, going from destroying the city to believing in Naruto so much that he gave his life to bring back the people he killed was a little bit extreme. However, I'm not complaining because Kakashi's alive because of it. So, you know, it's good. I'm cool with that. But I honestly did like the route that it took. I would get annoyed if this happened every single arc, which I guess it could. You know, I've still got quite a bit of Shippuden to go, at about half a year worth. But in this moment, like, yeah, it was a little bit like, okay, this kind of came out of nowhere. It felt good. It made sense enough that I'm not really complaining, I'm just talking. So I really liked that they were both students of Jiraiya. That kind of brought them together, and that made Pain willing to do what he did to bring back the people. I think that these shonen stories that are kind of known for being very, very basic and very straightforward, they do a really good job at developing the villains and making us understand them and making us kind of see it from their perspective and really understand the motives. Are we supposed to like truly forgive them? Not all the time. I think kind of yes with Pain, because he at least tried his best to kind of fix some of the things that he did. You know, when you look at something like Demon Slayer, I feel like it's very obvious that we're supposed to understand where the demons came from, but we're not supposed to necessarily forgive them, because none of them really like they don't have the opportunity actually to you know, fix any of the problems they've made, because we always learn about them once they're dying. But that being said, I do like how stories that have a fairly simple plot, you know, Naruto has a fairly simple plot, like we've got the goal, we want to become Hokage, we're working our way towards that, we're dealing with enemies, you know, that sort of thing. When you add in this interesting character dynamic, and the characters are very well written and developed, and there's a plenty of them where it's just very interesting to learn more about them, I really like that. Yeah, I want to know what's gonna happen to the girl, I can't remember her name, that was with Pain, that was also trained by Jiraiya. Like, she was like, well, I'm with you now. And I was like, okay, can you like stay with them? Because I feel like Konoha is obviously very vulnerable now, because there is no Konoha. It would be useful to have someone with her powers with them. So I was like, I thought she was gonna like join them, and then she just like walked away, and I was like, okay, never mind, I guess, but I hope she comes back. If she never comes back, I'm gonna be kind of pissed because it's like, she's like, I'm with you from afar. But man, like this arc was so good. I was crying multiple times. There were so many twists and so many good moments, and the ending was very good. So I'm going to admit to you guys, when Naruto started to collapse, but Kakashi was there, that was like tier level of when I cry with Itachi. Like, that got me, and I think it's because I was holding in all these emotions about Kakashi throughout the entire arc, because I was like, I think he's surviving this. I feel like I've seen more. Like, I don't think he's actually dead. And then it got to the point where I was like, oh, frick, maybe he really is dead. Like, maybe like I missed something, or I'm thinking of a wrong spoiler or something. So for him to come back, and for him to like, he got resurrected, and the first thing he did was go to Naruto. And I eat up like any type of trope where we have like protective teacher over their student, right? And his student just literally saved Konoha, like in multiple ways. He did by being the one to fight Pain by himself once he arrived. And then he went and spoke to him and finally got through to him, which turned Pain into what he did, and saving the people that he had already killed. And for Kakashi to just like immediately go to him and be there, and for that to come back where he's like, you can always rest on me, and for him to say that he's heavy now, because if I'm remembering correctly, in season 1 at some point when they did this, he mentioned that he was light. Even though it's like, okay, yeah, he's gotten older, so obviously he's heavier, but it's just like oh, he's growing. Like, he's genuinely growing with them, and Kakashi like looks at him like maybe like a little brother or something along those lines, like, you know, a student, right? But that really got to me. That was just like such a sweet moment. And Naruto knew Kakashi was dead because he could sense all the chakra. So for him to be there, and for him to be the first person that he gets to see once he defeated Pain, was so beautiful. And then the final scene. Okay, I was talking to some friends, and it felt like the end of the show. Obviously, he hasn't actually become Hokage, so we haven't achieved the actual goal. But the village has recognized him as the hero. And I feel like the story has come so far already, which it should have. We are technically, what, like 500 episodes into the story. I'm only like 200 or 250 because I skipped filler. It feels like it should be coming that far because it's been so long, but it also feels so soon in the show that this full circle story is complete. So now we do still have like, okay, become Hokage, and we have other issues now to deal with because Konoha is in like a very vulnerable state since it's gone. But to have this like very beautiful ending to this arc, when it was such a roller coaster of emotions and so sad, and I feel like we haven't had anything good happen for a while, to see him get recognized by the village and be called the hero was just such a beautiful way to end the arc. And I can see why people would say if the show or the story had ended there, it would have felt good. It would have been okay. Yeah, it would have been sucky that we never saw him become Hokage, which I think will happen eventually. But it felt like a good way, like if the show had ended there, I would have been happy. Because they did a really good job at kind of closing up, and I think like we're about to move into like the war. So it kind of closed up like the first part of the story where we weren't at war. It was more of like, there's just like bad guys that we have to fight, and now we're gonna be at war. But that was a great way to close it out because it was a full circle moment. It was something that like Naruto has always been the outsider. No one has ever recognized him. Everyone's always been like, don't talk to him, you know, he's the Jinchuriki, we want to keep away from him. And now he's the hero of the village because he's the reason that they're all alive, and he's getting recognized for it. And that made me really emotional. So overall, I feel like I mentioned quite a few things that like I didn't really love. However, this was like a 9.8 out of 10. I would have to give the arc previous to this a slightly higher rating because I gave it a 10 out of 10. I had no issues with the arc prior to this. This one just had a couple moments where it's like, but 9.8 out of 10. I say like the character development, the action, the story itself, all of it was so freaking good. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I started it on a Saturday, and I was planning on like watching it throughout the week because what I've been doing with this is I've been trying to do like one arc per week and watching it like on my lunch break and after work every day and get through like 3 to 5 episodes a day depending on how many are in the arc. And I finished it on Sunday. I was like, I'm done now. So I still haven't touched the next one because I was waiting till I recorded this video and it's been a couple weeks. That's how you know for me it was good, is if I was planning on watching it over the course of time, but I finished it really quickly because I just can't stop watching it. That's how I felt. So overall, what an amazing arc. It definitely lived up to the hype because I knew so many people loved this arc, and for many people it's their favorite arc. I'm very interested to see what happens next. I know we're going to be dealing with some different things. I think Tsunade can't be Hokage anymore because she broke the seal, so I don't remember exactly how that works, but I think that means that she just is not going to have the same power that she had, or she's not going to be able to have the powers at all because she did, I think, revert to an old woman. We just didn't fully see it. So I think we're going to need a new Hokage. Well, obviously we will. I do know the name of the next episode, and I'm very mad about it because it's Danzo. That's one of the reasons why I haven't watched the next arc yet either, is because I can't bring myself. I'm still in like happy mode from the end of the pain arc being so sweet, and like it was a happy ending. We haven't had a happy ending in a while, and now we're gonna get into Danzo, who I've hated from the start and I will continue to hate. But yeah, so 9.8 out of 10, very, very good. It lived up to the hype. I'm very interested to see what happens next again because I wonder where the story's gonna go. Kind of. I do know there's going to be a war, so obviously I kind of know, but that is going to be it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. I'm a yapper. All of these videos are very yappy, but they get more and more unhinged and more tangent-y as it progresses, so I hope you all enjoy that. And if you are a fan of that kind of stuff, I yap in all my videos, so hit that subscribe button, please, and thank you. You can also follow me on social media. I'm at Hannah Malay on Instagram and TikTok, and at lookingnerdy on X. But with that, I'll see you next time. Matane!